What is up, everyone? Today we're going to break down the upcoming UFC Fight Night card from a DraftKings DFS perspective. This week's card is being headlined by Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues in the middleweight division. And as of this morning, we just lost the Jared Gordon fight, so we're down to 12 fights, I believe. Yep. Um, and there's a lot of chalk this week, especially after losing that Gordon fight. Um, we'll go through it. We'll go matchup by matchup. I'll talk about the important fights, the key leverage spots, and just my thoughts on the matchups. Starting off, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, Julia Avila. This is pretty much a pass fight. You got Cavalcanti, pure striker, not even a high volume striker, and an awful ITD line. Plus 250. I mean, money keeps coming on it throughout the week, but even still at plus 250, it's not great for her style and her price. So pretty much a full fade there. Maybe get to it if you're playing more than like 50 lineups, but almost a full fade. And then Julia Avila, you're not going to get leverage. Her metrics are awful herself. Plus 520 to win. I got another play where you might leave it in for MME, but no interest in this fight from any other DFS perspective. Next up, Yusuf Zalal versus Calvin Kattar. Yusuf Zalal, takedown upside, not exactly the kind you want at 9,400. His ITD line is not great either, plus 200. There's a lot better fighters to target in this 9K range. So he's a potential pivot in this higher priced range, but as a play, he's not a great play. Calvin Kattar, on the other hand, not winning that often. You won't get leverage off of Zalal, so another very, very fringy play. You can maybe plug in Zalal in single entry for the win odds, I guess. But yeah, another fight that doesn't look too appealing. Next up, Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar, big underdog, but the thing about him is a lot of his wins are coming by submission. And you have Estevam who should be implementing grappling in this fight, shooting a lot of takedowns. It will give Aguilar some openings to find a submission. Do I think it's likely? No. That's why he's a big underdog. But as a tournament play, I think Aguilar is interesting as a complete punt down in this 6K range. And then Estevam, I think, is an okay underdog. Good win odds. Probably going to get some takedowns, some control time. Do I see a huge ceiling for him? Not necessarily. Let's take a look at his finishing metrics. Minus 110. I mean, yeah. So Estevam's a good play, I would say. Definitely better than Zalal and Cavalcanti. And Aguilar, good tournament punt. But I probably won't get to him in single entry. Next up, Edmen Shabazian versus Dylan Budka. Dylan Budka, pure wrestler. So, okay, this is an easy fight to break down from a DFS perspective. Dylan Budka is going to feel like a gross play, but I think he's a really good tournament play because of two reasons. Number one, he's fighting Edmen, and Edmen has the best metrics on the slate, pretty much. Great round one line, one of the best ITD lines on the slate. He's going to be very popular in this 9K range. So that's the first reason. Second reason is that Budka, to win, he's going to need takedowns. I don't think there's any fight in the UFC he'll win without getting takedowns. Now, he is winless in the UFC, and this could be his last fight in the UFC if he does lose. But I think it's something that you have to play in the tournaments. It's too much leverage, too good of a win condition to fully fade him. Again, it doesn't feel great, but I'm gonna get both sides of this. Edmen will be my preferred side. Single entry, I'll get to a lot of Edmen, I'm sure. But I think you do have to mix in some Budka, as gross as it may feel. Elijah Smith, Morales. Morales has become like the hipster underdog of the week, and he's going to be very popular because he's 7.1K. And I think he's the most likely underdog on the slate to win. Yeah, plus 120. I mean, more money coming on him. So he's easily the just on the metrics, he's the most likely underdog to win on the slate by a long shot. So for that reason alone, he'll be very popular. I think you probably just plug him in and cash, maybe in single entry, but I'm not convinced. I think you can definitely pivot off of him in single entry. He's a good play. Like, you're not going to argue and say that he's a bad play, but is he a good play given his ownership? I don't know. I mean, his ITD line, I guess it's plus 360, 7,100, not bad. I mean, okay, yeah. Vince Morales is a pretty good play. I'm trying to find reasons to argue against it, but it's tough. And then Elijah Smith, if I knew he was this finisher or this like monster grappler, I'd want to get some of him for that low owned leverage. But the thing is he's showing a really bad ITD line. He has some wrestling upside, but it's not really enough at this price with the awful ITD metrics. So I unfortunately think that Elijah Smith is probably close to a pass, even though he could potentially provide some leverage. It's not good leverage, but he will provide some leverage off of Morales. Jose Delgado, Connor Matthews. I put Delgado right next to Shabazian. These are the two guys that are clearly the best plays in this 9K range, and they're going to be the most popular for that reason. So Connor Matthews, like Dylan Budka, you just have to play. I mean, I'm just going to mix in healthy amounts of Budka and Matthews, or potentially both. Well, definitely both, but do I want both of them in the same lineup? That might be going a bit too far. But if I get to it, I get to it. These are the two guys that I think are keys to the slate. I think that they're very good leverage. Matthews, he has this grappling upside, this submission upside. Dylan Budka with his takedown upside. I think both guys are very, very intriguing. It's okay ITD line, I guess. Again, not a play that'll feel exciting to make, but it's something I think you have to do. Delgado, yeah, great. We already said it. Great play. He'll be popular for good reason. But I like both sides of it from a tournament perspective. Gabriel Bonfim versus Khaos Williams. Khaos Williams has become a very popular underdog this week. For DFS, he's a great upside play. He wins most of his fights. I mean, almost all his fights are round 1, round 2 KO with the knockdown. He has nasty power in his hands. Like, there's no denying that. He has a knockdown in almost every one of his wins. Even in one of his losses, Randy Brown, he still got a knockdown in that fight. Elite power and at an underdog price tag, that's something I'm going to respect. Khaos Williams is a good play. Gabriel Bonfim, he has the grappling upside in this matchup. But there's a lot of unknowns as to what that means. Could he get a takedown and just be levels above Khaos on the ground? I think that's possible. Could he struggle even getting the fight to the ground? I guess that's possible too. And could he win like a close striking decision? Maybe. I mean, you have to really mind your P's and Q's if you're on the feet with Khaos Williams for 3 whole rounds, but it's possible. Could he cage push? Sure. So I think that Gabriel Bonfim is a play I'm willing to lean into for the tournaments. ITD line's not bad at all. Plus 110. Plus the grappling upside. I think there's some unknowns. I'm willing to lean into that. So I like both sides of this in GPPs. Next up, Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petroski. Okay, so this is the one that I'm a little bit confused by. I actually did tape a few fights this week, and this was one of them. And my takeaway was whoever is able to implement their grappling first should be able to have success. Andre Petroski, wrestler, also jiu-jitsu background, and then Rodolfo Vieira, like an elite jiu-jitsu background. I think he's a decorated ADCC, something like that. Okay, so he has the better accolades in jiu-jitsu. But when it comes to MMA grappling, this matchup is tough. Like, if Andre Petroski comes forward, shoots takedowns, I think he can get takedowns on Vieira. If Vieira comes forward, shoots takedowns, I think he can get takedowns on Petroski. Who do I give the defensive wrestling edge to? I guess Petroski. That's a little bit more of the pure wrestling is more on Petroski's side, I would say. And then as far as the striking goes, I think it's Petroski maybe has a bit more power. Vieira could be the minute winner, but I don't know. I think it's competitive there too. So this line is a little bit confusing to me. I think it really does come down to who can get off their game plan first, and I'm not really convinced as to who that is. I do think the way that Vieira would cover this line, if he does come in, get an early takedown, it'll look like he's a minus 270, right? Because he'll look to finish. Like, that's one thing. Vieira has the much more, he's much more urgent to finish once it gets to the ground than a guy like Andre Petroski. Whereas Petroski's kind of looking to just lay and pray, rack up control time. Vieira is looking to choke you out. So I definitely agree that Vieira is the much more likely fighter to finish. So yeah, that's on his side. 8,800 grappling upside, finishing upside. He's a good play, but I just think that Petroski might be someone that gets overlooked here. 7,400. Even if you get like the lay and pray decision, like 80 points, I still think that's solid value at 7,400. And he's a guy that I have a lot of interest in, even in my single entry stuff. Moving on to Walter Walker, Dontel Mays, pretty binary matchup. Walker is going to try to get takedowns. If he succeeds, he should win. Will he finish? I don't know. I mean, I know he finished his last fight with a heel hook, but that's a very rare outcome at heavyweight. Dontel Mays just seems content to sit on his back once he's taken down. So it could be one of those control type of grappling performances, like the Lucas Bresky one. If he would have won this, 85. Maybe something like that. If he gets a finish, it'll obviously be much better, which is plus 215 to finish. It's an okay play, I think. And then Dontel Mays. I guess on paper, these guys are heavyweights, and Walker's not the best striker. So if it is on the feet, Mays is live to find a knockout, I guess, but he's not the most dangerous heavyweight, in my opinion. So pretty brutal play on Dontel Mays. I'll leave him in, but I probably don't want much of him. Next up, main event, Gregory Rodrigues versus Jared Cannonier. I think you get both sides of it. I highly doubt this thing goes all 5 rounds. One guy's probably getting knocked out. The guy with the grappling upside is Rodrigues, but will he go to it? No idea. 8,600 and 7,600. It's a great fight to target. Will I lock it? Will I lock it in? 12 fight card. I probably won't lock it in, but I wouldn't blame you if you did. It'll probably be like 80-ish% owned. Yeah, and if you want to get 100 of it, I mean, I wouldn't blame you. It's kind of up to you. But it's a great fight to target. Ismael Bonfim, Nazim, Sadykhov. Ismael Bonfim, I don't have a lot of interest in. To me, he comes off as a technical striker. He does have some power in his hands, but unless the ITD line's good, I mean, plus 225, I don't think he has any grappling upside. Nazim has like pace upside, grappling upside. I think Nazim's a fine underdog, like a good low risk type of underdog. Nazim fits that bill. But overall, this fight it doesn't look too appealing. I guess Nazim's the preferred side. And then last but not least, Angela Hill versus Katlyn Souza. The mid-range fight this week. We always talk about this. I mean, Sheets is the one who first kind of brought this point up a couple months ago, but this 8,200 8K fight just seems to always get there because of lineup construction. It just allows you to get a much more balanced build by including this fight. For that reason, I'll respect it. Do I think it carries a ton of upside? No. I mean, the finishing metrics are awful. The takedown metrics probably go to Angela Hill. Angela Hill has a very high pace. I know we saw Souza get a knockout her last fight, but that's not a very likely outcome to happen again. All in all, I think it's a fine filler fight. You just use it to fill your lineups in and get to whatever else you want to prioritize. But in a vacuum, it doesn't seem like a great fight. I guess Angela Hill is my preferred side just because she has a higher pace and the takedown upside. But I kind of just feel indifferent about this fight. That's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you have any questions, please leave a comment